Hello.
Hello.
Sorry, like I've never had it be so loud in my ear before, and I was like, it's so interesting. So anyway,
Yeah.
hello everybody.
Hi,
Guess who's
welcome
here?
everyone. Happy
Welcome.
Tuesday.
Welcome to another Tuesday. Today, me and my lovely guest, really more than a guest, my dear friend, are going to
Oh,
be talking about the real world, New York. But before we get started into that little realm, I want to make sure that first and foremost, I go ahead and say thank you to the mods doing the absolute most. You don't get paid, but you're here anyway, and I appreciate you. I would also like to thank everybody who is watching this live, as well as those of you watching this on the replay, because I know it's hard sometimes to watch a live stream on replay. So the fact that you are doing so, awesome, awesome. If the chat is available, I encourage following along with the chat. But if you just want to listen, like in the background, like the rest of us do you? And most importantly, a huge thank you to both of our patrons and our channel members. We appreciate y'all. Ooh, I should tomorrow, don't quote me, have my
no
members,
promises around
I
here.
know, right? My members and patrons exclusive content up mañana. And I think I am planning a stream for us on Saturday. So all of that is coming up. So appreciate you. And for some reason, my nose just started running. The purple beanie, the purple beanie. Let's start saying some
With
hellos.
the whole fluffy little thing. Thank you all. Thank you.
Hi,
It
Chelsea.
got cold again. I mean, it's been cold in New York this whole time, but it got colder. And that reflects in my own apartment. Yay!
It
Brooklyn
got cold for
living.
you, got warm for me. Had the
Hell
patio door open.
yeah. Yeah. Yes, thank you to our mods. Thank you to anyone that's a patron of me, a member of my channel. I always want to second that because yes, you all are amazing and make the stream even more amazing. And welcome to everyone that's
I know.
here. Uh,
It's a little nutty because some of y'all I see virtually every day now because of Twitch. So it's like kind of amazing. Like some of y'all I see every day, and it's like it's extra AF because it's like it's really cool. Like I don't know how to explain it, but y'all come watch me play this damn video game, and I appreciate y'all for it.
I love that we kind of did green eyeshadow. Look, I have a green iridescent. It's an iridescent shadow, so it's like green to pink, and it looks just yellow on
Ooh.
camera, it seems like. But we're both kind of doing a green look without any communication, literally none.
Literally, like nobody told us anything. I'm doing my palette challenge, so I did well, you'll find out in the video that this one's for, but
Secret.
yes, I used one of my palettes. I've been trying to like go through all of my palettes and use them, and then kind of figure out what I love, what I don't love, because I feel like probably around June or
Thank
so
you,
there's going to
Becky.
be like another declutter coming because I just start slowly getting rid of things that I'm like, oh yeah, I don't like this, oh yeah, I don't like that, oh yeah. And I find out by using it.
Yes. Yes. So
Yes.
first of all, everybody, if you have clicked over onto this video because of the subject, like welcome. Uh we love the real world, like the original seasons is what I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
And so last night, Audra was like, "Oh, there's a homecoming," and I was like, "Wait, what? What? So why are we not talking about this tomorrow?" Literally, I was just like, "Why are we not talking about this tomorrow?" So that's why we're here. Um, so I just wanted to say, like, if you found us of that, welcome. And oh, thank you. Thank you, Momo Kitty. And that's basically all. I just wanted to be like, we're gonna talk about this, and it's probably gonna be more than one time because the show hasn't started yet.
Yes, because it looks like I'm probably going to pick up a subscription to what is it, Paramount Plus. This is where it's going to be playing, which I find very interesting. Just side note, I find it very interesting because I think I know that Paramount is the parent company, I believe, of MTV.
I'm guessing of like MTV and CBS and probably a
Yeah.
bunch of other channels.
So I find
Yeah.
it so interesting though that MTV has a channel, like they have a streaming channel. and yet it's not on MTV's streaming channel.
My alleged assumption is probably going to be that it's all going to get eaten up by Paramount Plus. Like
Yeah.
everything's going to go there, and it's just going to be like, here's the MTV station. If we're going to go with old school, like here's this, here's that, and then
Yeah.
you click in and you can find other MTV stuff. But yeah, so it's starting on Thursday, the 4th.
Yes, it's
The
starting on the
reunion.
4th. Because the original Real World was, I believe, 1995. Was it 95 or 92?
I
was
think
either
it's 92 because I think it's 20 years.
Yes, because I was 12 years. Wait, it's got to be 30 years. It's 30.
30 years, sorry. Yeah.
The only reason I said that is because I did a video once where I was like, it's 2021 and it's officially 20 years since somebody else said 30 years. And I was like, first of all, rude. But
considering that, yeah. So so I saw, yeah, so it was 1992 was when they shared the loft in New York together. And so somebody was asking, is it a new cast? No, it's actually a reunion, and it's going to be in the same loft in Soho
the same Soho loft
that it was filmed in 1992, which
yes.
like blows my mind.
Blown.
I live in New York.
Blown.
I've lived in and around, like I've lived in Brooklyn. I mostly have lived in Brooklyn my time here. I've been here over a decade. The fact that I'm like, allegedly MTV must have known and bought that fucker as soon as like they either came up with this idea or filmed it, and they were just like, yeah, no, this is gonna be a thing, we should just own this, because there's no way that would just be there 30 years later.
Yeah, especially so if you so Mary Ellis Bunham, who I believe has since passed, I believe she had cancer, but and Jonathan Murray are the ones who came up with this idea. And originally they were trying to make like a scripted show, and they just realized the hassle of doing all of that. And so they came up with this idea of like, well, why don't we just put people in a house together and film them like real time? So this, my dear wonders out there, was the birth of reality television, because this had never been done before. This was, and it wasn't received well, BT Dubs. It was not received well by critics. They shit all over it. And they're like, this is obviously fake. And like, and it couldn't have been fake. I hate to be the one to burst bubbles.
Especially really, the first one.
Yes.
Especially the first one.
It was like, honestly, it was I will always say that it's the only actual reality TV. Everything after that was just like kind of, and everything after that is a blueprint of this.
Yeah, like the way I think I was like reading some articles and skimming some articles last night, and I think the way like the New York Times put it is that the DNA of like the Real World is present in every reality show that has existed since. And once it started, just in the conversations we've had in the last 24 hours, I'm like, oh no, I see that. Like there's just layers and layers of things that either started within the very first season or soon after, but within that show, not like when it went into Road Rules or when there was other shows. It was like, it was Real World was where it all started.
Yeah. And it was eye-opening. And here's another thing to remember about this. Virtually every cast member already lived in New York. I feel like Julie may have been the only one who wasn't already there, but the rest of the cast members had already moved there for one reason or another. A lot of it was like jobs and opportunities. But the majority of them already lived there. So this was like, this is why it's such a big deal, because up until like after that, they were flying people from all over the country to come stay in this house. And this was something, because it hadn't been done before. I don't, like, if I'm honest, I don't think they were going to spend the fucking money to like get bunches of people, flying them all around and like bringing them in. And I would almost bet that the casting call was in New York. And so people came from everywhere. Yeah. Norman
but
was bi-coastal.
This also makes sense. Like I have a friend that pre-COVID was bi-coastal between New York and like Oakland, and it's a really perfect setup, especially if you're in a long distance relationship. So if you don't know, because I know there were people here that were younger, and maybe you saw the Real World and maybe you didn't. So I was pretty young the first season or two it started. I heard about it, but I wasn't watching it as much. But basically the whole thing was like, when, what is it, seven people live
Oh,
together.
I've got it
Oh
because
wait, say
I'm
it,
never
please,
gonna forget it.
please, because
This is the story of seven strangers picked to live in a house and see what happens when things start. Yes.
wait, go. I'm bad. Stop getting, wait. No, go for it.
No, it's okay. Like that was it. Like
Because I don't remember, because it's
it's
something
just like it
something
start
and
getting real, and so
okay, yeah.
the whole concept of the show
Stop being polite and start
stop being
getting
polite and
real.
start
That's
getting
what it
real.
was. Sorry, I was like, I just remember the and start getting real.
Yeah. Because remember, and they would have each one of them say it like, this is the story of seven strangers picked to live in a house to see what happens when people stop being polite and start getting real. And they would like, everybody would say like a different part of it of the intro. And then they'd be like, and then as it moved on, they're like, real world, or whatever dumb stuff that they said.
I feel like they always had that though. That was at least for many years. I
Yes.
watched
Yes.
probably a decade's worth of the show before I still kind of watched it as it went on, but like I fell off. But
And
yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, to
No, you're fine.
Allie, what I will say, yes, there was like reality shows, but I don't think that anybody had really picked up a blueprint, like a way of putting it out there that was exciting. And this, I'm going to say that it was something that spurred on, like I sent in a tape, y'all. When I turned 18, my first thought was like, I'm sending, and I'm talking a tape, like a VHS
Yeah.
tape, okay? And I had to like record myself and be like, "Hi, I'm Audra, and like I'm 18," and like it was like it was a whole thing, right? This, and I'm gonna call it the first reality television, and I say that because honestly, like Emily was saying, every reality show lives off of this show. Like
Yeah.
from that very first Real World, the blueprint for everything we have, from Big Brother to Survivor to Joe Millionaire to The Bachelor to The Bachelorette,
Yeah.
they all have like because like think about it. If it wasn't for Real World, do you think anybody would think to have a dating show where all the contestants lived in the same fucking house? I think not. They would
And here's the thing is, I don't even know if it was necessarily the first reality show, but I'm saying that it was the building block for reality TV that we know now. So
Yes.
like, hey Josh, if y'all haven't gotten your Genesis palette yet, you should. That thing
Yes, you
looks
should.
beautiful. Okay, sorry.
Subliminal messaging that you should.
But like, I feel like it was just these building blocks, and the things that we criticize reality TV of now, once we started talking about it, I was like, oh yeah, this all started there. Like, it's just also, yes, I would have loved Audra on the Real World. Although, like, as we looked at it more, I'm like, it's probably for the best.
Yes.
For a
Yes,
lot
Karama
of
was on the Real
reasons.
World. Karama was on one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So,
He was
yeah,
the first Black openly queer person on Real World.
oh, wait, now I have to see which
He's on Queer
season
Eye
it
now.
was. I know who it is, but I didn't know which Real World he was on. Oh, Real World Philadelphia. Okay. Huh. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. So
Because
I just
Norman was the first like queer person, but the thing was Norman wasn't necessarily out at the time, but then as time progressed, and by the way, they are in that house for a month. It's not even like when you're watching it on a weekly basis and all this stuff, but it's a month. Like it seems like not a lot of time because it's not. But after that, they started having them in the house longer, which changes a few things. But they started having them in the house longer. But yeah, Norman was like the one who he ended up having to come out because he just didn't have an option because he was dating a man and things were going a certain way, and he just couldn't really keep it off camera anymore and keep it from the roommates. So he eventually just had to like come out. And Julie, the country bumpkin from like I think Alabama, like
something like that,
was very cool with it, which Julie was just always an interesting character because she was super country in a lot of ways, worldly in some, but completely oblivious in others. And it's interesting that they're going to do this again because I really feel like some of the issues that came up in fucking 1992, we are still battling today.
And the what it seems like, and I'm sure we will talk about this, like I said, once we see it, it seems like the point of them coming back together is to reflect upon conflicts and things that happen, and probably see how far they've come. Because the thing that I didn't necessarily remember, they're still friends. They're still in communication. Like, there were definitely seasons where I was like, oh, people are not, this is not going to be like this is not a sustainable relationship because of a lot of emotional manipulation from the side of MTV, in my opinion, allegedly. But for the very first season of such a groundbreaking concept, the fact that they are still theoretically all in friendly communication is pretty intense, I have to say. Like, it's a lot.
They've been friends for 30 years. They've been talking and communicating with one another for 30 years. And I definitely want to say that, like, I remember, and many people remember this. Kevin, I think was his name. How Kevin and Heather were treated it's Kevin especially was unfairly painted in that show, in that season. And unfortunately, because Kevin stood up for himself and was like, no, I'm not going to take any racism and you're not going to put it in my face. And I'm going to tell you my experience. And you can't tell me that I don't live this experience because you don't fucking live it. Has set up every reality show to always have the quote unquote angry Black person whom other people would either intentionally or unintentionally poke and prod. And I feel like I'm glad that I didn't end up on a Real World, because I really feel like I would have just been traumatized, like emotionally traumatized by these people trying to tell me like about my Blackness or what is and isn't racism. I would have lost my shit. So it would not have been cool. Like, no.
Well, and that was something that like I didn't really. So when we've been talking about this, I was like, oh, this is basically from the way they cast the show. I'm not saying just the concept, because the concept could be done in different ways. The way they cast the show, and also the way they basically, for a lot of people, their main thing that they did to pass the time was to drink.
Yes.
Like, they've set this series up. I don't know in the future seasons, but like I said, the decade or so of it that I watched, I realized like it's a house set up to traumatize and put Black and brown people that are in the house through emotional labor, and queer people too. But I felt like
definitely queer people.
Yes, absolutely. And a couple people mentioned Puck in the comments, and San Francisco with Puck and Pedro was disgusting.
Puck was a nightmare, and Puck never stopped being a nightmare.
Yeah.
Ever. I like, just to stray from it right quick, I'm just gonna let it out. Puck was always a nightmare. Puck's whole thing was just, oh, I'm an anarchist or whatever. And I was like, no, you're being a dick for the sake of being a dick. That's not anarchy. Like, I don't know why people don't understand the difference between like being an asshole and being an anarchist.
Because anarchists will destroy people like Puck. Like,
yes.
Well, they can be very kind people, but like the kinds of people like Puck make anarchists really fucking angry, because it's like, no, that's not what we're about at all. We're not about. It's like people are like, I'm punk, and then they are racist, terrible people, and I'm like,
That's
You
not what
should get to know
about.
people that are actually in the punk scene or listen to punk music or associate with that community at all. Because there are some amazing people in there. And it's not you over here, sir.
Yeah.
I'm punk. Okay.
Because
Anyway.
he would definitely claim that he was an anarchist and then do shit like stick his booger finger in the peanut butter and eat directly out of it. And I'm like, that's not anarchy. That's just being disgusting and inconsiderate. Like that's just two
Super
different things.
selfish.
Yeah, I'm like, that's a different thing. And like people asked him repeatedly not to do these things, but that actually leads into like the start of this and how it got places, because I don't think MTV ever really did the best job with vetting the people that they put on this show. I feel like because of the first Real World New York with Kevin and Julie and Eric Nees, who we're going to talk about, who's also he's not going to be there. He's going to be there via hotel. Something is amiss, but
allegedly some shit has happened.
Listen. Eric Nees is a weird guy, okay? Weird. All right, he got famous and then he got weird. If you ever saw him on Confessions of a Teen Idol, washed his hair with piss. He was like, that's how I have such beautiful locks. He got really, really homeopathic, which there's nothing wrong with it, but like he's made up some kind of business title. And I just feel like the only reason he wasn't allowed in the house is because he probably said some weird shit, some weird like earthy herbal shit that nobody wanted to fucking hear. He was like, listen, I can only come in if I can rub myself with the pee of a dolphin. And they were like, no, allegedly.
And my alleged statement is much more sinister because you're letting him call in through video chat when everyone else in the midst of a parallelogram is in the same house.
Oh, you think he's got the parallelogram?
No. I'm saying that they would do all of that in the midst of a parallelogram. To me, it reads way more allegedly, my opinion only, dangerous, meaning there might be people that might be femme or women that don't want to be in the same space as him, allegedly.
Oh, I was thinking that he might have the C-19.
Well, but still, like,
hi, Kate.
Hello. You walked into me just being like, allegedly, I think this person is an absolute terrible human being that's dangerous, possible to other people. Okay, but yes, he is a very weird person. So
yeah, I mean,
you.
because here was the thing. Up until this point, this is something I discussed with Emily behind the scenes, but up until MTV did this, there were very few ways for the degular person to like jumpstart whatever they were trying to do. So if you were an actor, if you were an actress, if you were a musician, if any of these creative things that you were trying to do, if you wanted to be a radio personality, any of these things, the thing that's very interesting about it is that you had to work. You like, not like you don't have to now, but you had to like try to go through all these channels and try to get an agent and try to do all this stuff. And nobody wanted to represent you because you hadn't done anything, but you couldn't do anything without somebody representing you. So it was like this circle, right? But in comes the Real World. And then Eric Nees was the first to parlay that truly like in the public eye. Not saying Kevin and Heather and the rest of them didn't do something with it, but Eric was the first one to parlay that into public fame. So for those of you that don't know, Eric Nees had that show, like The Grind on MTV. And when I tell you that I could do none of those dance steps because I'm not coordinated like that, you would be correct. I could not do them. I can dance. I just can't do coordinated dances. It's weird. I cannot, like my ADHD brain cannot, like I can count the steps and do that. But as soon as you're trying to like make me do it and count, I can't. So I was just like over there, just like, and I just started like doing weird pelvis things. I didn't know. He was. Whew.
I just when I looked him up yesterday, I was like, oh, most of the things that he's done were related to real world or real world adjacent shows, besides like hosting something called The Grind and then being on Confessions of a Teenage Heartthrob.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm just like,
he also had MTV Spring Break.
Yeah.
Like he was hosting that and stuff. He just, yeah, there's some things. Eric Nees Sus.
I think what I read was that there will be information released in the series about why he's not actually there, but it's under wraps right now.
Yeah, because
So
it was weird because he seemed to really enjoy his fame, and then he just kind of like fell off. He just disappeared. Like, I don't even know, like there would just be random times where I'd be like, I wonder whatever happened to Eric Needs, because that's how my ADHD works. BT dubs. I just side note, object permanence. Literally think most celebrities that I haven't seen before are already dead. Please don't judge me, because then when they actually do pass, I'm over here surprised Pikachu face. Like, I thought that they were already dead. So like, please remember that if you ever tell me that a celebrity who's like older has died, I thought they were already dead. Don't be upset, okay? Like, please don't. I really thought that they were already dead. Don't look at me weird, especially if you're my friend, you're Marco Polo, and you're like, so-and-so passed away. I'm like, oh, what? I thought they were already dead. Like, what? Like, when Larry King passed, I was like, I swore he was already dead.
I definitely thought he was already dead. Yeah.
I was just like, what the fuck happened? Help me. But I just feel like the way that they showed Kevin on that show it was just often him getting into it with roommates. Like, he and Eric ended up having like a cool relationship because Kevin realized that like Eric did spend a lot of time around Black people, had a bad relationship with his father, and began to realize that they were like closer and understood each other's lives more than most would think that they were for people being of different races, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think he got like hopped up on something. Don't quote me on it, but he got like a little, because he was on one of them like rehab shows.
Like I said, we say allegedly. All alleged.
Yes, all allegedly.
Alleged. But it is interesting to think about how, okay, so with the internet has allowed regular people to theoretically become celebrities or influencers or whatever. Before the internet, the real world and then the road rules was like one of the only spaces to be able to do that.
Yes.
Legitimately regular ass people, oftentimes very pretty people, which I was just like, yeah, you're real regular, all right.
That's why you went viral.
Yeah, exactly.
By doing like, some wild ass shit on a reality show.
I still remember, was their name Kaya in Hawaii, where like the
Ruthie.
First day they got there. No, but it wasn't Ruthie. It was like brunette, but they weren't brown. But they like, I remember they had this like long bob that was either asymmetrical or had like long pieces in the front. But basically, first day they were just like clothes off in the pool, like just like first day. Just that I was like, I mean, that's how you can go viral on the Real World. Day one.
Quick side note, I'm so sorry. I just wanted to say this, just FYI. Not everybody knows that my pronouns are they and them. So it's okay. It's all gravy. It's all gravy it's all wavy gravy. I have never announced that really. So just in case, if people, come in and say, hi ladies, I'm not going to be upset if they don't know that I have not publicly made that a thing. Yeah. So it's all good. It's all good.
I go by they and she, so there are options. And honestly, day to day, whether or not ladies bothers me is very much up to my own mood. So
correct. It depends on who says it.
It depends on different things for me.
If it's like a straight man who says ladies, I'm going to stab him. Allegedly.
Sometimes it can be a perfectly, like, it could be somebody that I consider a friend and my brain still goes like twitch, but it's not like it's complicated. Let's just put it that way.
Sorry, I just wanted to, because I saw a little bit happening in the chat, and I just wanted people to know, like, I'm not offended, and Kate is actually very, very kind. When I am not running on all of my social medias, I try to send Kate Marco Polos. Okay. So yeah, thank you. But yeah, black hair, nose tattoos, and
nose tattoos. There was Ruthie. And then there was this other person, and I feel like their name started with a K.
Let me go look. I got to look it up now because I'm not going to be able to be satisfied. Like, I don't understand how people do that. They're like, oh, just who? Okay, fine. No. I need to figure it out. So, oh, excuse me.
Was it Amaya? Maybe that's their name. Not, I just thought it was something with a K. But I think it was.
Oh, shit. Hold on.
But just the Kaya. Oh, no, there was a Kaya. Okay. Oh. I don't know. Sorry for the distraction. No, but just like one of those people where I was just like, oh, that's a choice from day one. Yes, because the first episode was titled Nudity in 911. Yes, they're a bit shocked by their new uninhibited roommates. Kaya arrives at the house. Yes, Kaya joins the Naked Brigade by peeling off her shirt. So my memory isn't all that bad. It could be bad, but it's not all that bad. I just want to say that. Like,
yeah, I can't. I'm surprised that you remember that at all because I was like, no, Angie. I don't know if Ruthie cried a lot or if Ruthie was smash hammered a lot. Ruthie had an alcohol problem, and Ruthie did actually end up getting help for that. Like, because I believe they were at like a real world road rules challenge and they kept like getting smashed at them and causing all kinds of problems. And they were often getting kicked out.
And I just wanted to thank Thorne for some of the comments in the chat because agreed on all of that. Anyway, so you could see how like I definitely had an attachment and enjoyment for a show like Real World.
Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting that they are doing this because I do think that there is a level of nostalgia that like okay, so I have like there's a lot of people that are gonna be like MTV was better back in the day, blah blah blah. I still agree with that, but I understand why we can look like old farts saying that. But if this is how MTV wants to get my views back, cool. I'm here
take
for
me
it.
down nostalgia lane. And here's the thing, Vision of You, they did not institute those jobs until later because the original show, so for those of you that don't know, alcohol was the main thing, right? They walked in, one of the first things everybody noticed was the fully stocked bar. Now, please keep in mind that that bar does not stay fully stocked, okay? They fully stock it the one time for everybody to come in. And then after that, they have to buy their own booze. But the problem was they had, like this is 1992, so there really weren't, cell phones weren't really a thing. And so you had no TV, no magazines, no newspapers. You weren't really supposed to just be sitting and reading books because it was boring, especially as they move forward, right? Like it was boring. It was super boring. They did not want people literally sitting there like not participating. And if you go through later seasons, there are going to be people that you don't even remember because they got zero drama. They were literally doing nothing. Some people even just left because they were like, I don't really know why I'm here. I don't act like this and I'm not here for it. Like I came here for an experience and it just seems like everybody's drunk and hooking up and I'm not for that. And they left. But up until that point, like these people are in this house, 7 people are in this house. And the first one was like, okay, even spending all that time around each other because they already all had like jobs or things that they were doing in New York. So I think Becky was like some kind of performer. And she's actually the reason why I say, okay, Becky. Like I know people have other, but I say, okay, Becky, because of her, because she was always very conservative in a gross way that I did not enjoy. And so I just I found her to be the most annoying person there because she was just constantly discounting things and saying racist things that, she just didn't really think about. Julie, I think, said something that like just to start everything off that wasn't so great when Heather, a Black person, their beeper went off. And
oh yeah,
you made a comment being like, are you a drug dealer? Because here's the thing, there's 2 or 3 things behind that. I don't think, especially as you watch the show, one, Alabama, not really exposed to black people. Two, television always showed black people who had beepers were drug dealers. So I don't think she put it in her head deliberately that she was saying to a black person with a beeper that they were a drug dealer and not like thinking that that would be fucked up.
Yeah.
But also lived in that very small mindset because she got into it several times about race with Kevin. And there would be times where she'd be like, would you just stop with the race thing? I'm sick of it. And this is something we're still going through today, right? Where people get uncomfortable with the idea that racism exists, that people have privilege. And as soon as they get uncomfortable, they want to like, just stop making it about race. And it's like, well, it already is. Everything's about race anyway. But like, I can't not make it about it when I am brown. Like that's the whole thing. So like, and he kept trying to explain that to her. Like, everything is about race for me. This is how I grew up. I'm allowed to have animosity towards white people because of XYZ. That's happened to me in my life. And she would constantly try to invalidate his experience and his experiences and just try to be like, well, don't you think that it would be? And I'm like, no, don't you think ya? Don't do that. Don't do that. Because I don't, even then and today, I hate that people will do that. You know, well, do you think that because I'm what? Yes, I do. Like, there's my answer. Because if you ask me, like, well, I'm like, there are many instances in my life where I can literally go, yes, I think that if I weren't black when this or that happened, I would still be doing this. I think that at my old job, if I were a white woman, I would not have been called into my office, into my boss's office every 5 seconds for like what he perceived was me being angry or upset with him when literally I didn't really give a fuck. I was just like, all right, let this meeting end. And then it ends. And I'm like, sweet, let's get to work. And then I'm in his office and he's like, are you mad? And I'm like, I'm not mad, but now I am. Now
Exactly.
I'm mad.
Exactly. And also, I know for you, there's the layers of neurodivergency and race, and I'm sure race is a bigger part of it. But it's like there's this weird, and it's just like, so you can't just say what you feel directly in the moment without being disrespectful. You're just like, okay, we're ready to go. Cool, done. Like, and it's like, oh, you don't have to be that blunt. Like, that's not, yeah.
Yeah, it was. And again, this is like how that blueprint went down, right? Ever since, they always have a country bumpkin who's like, never really been around black people in my town. Like, there's no black people in my town. There's 33,722 people in my town. So, like, I don't have any black people in my town. I ain't never seen one up close. Like that. That's what they because the whole point was Julie represented the like average American who didn't live in the city, who didn't live around black people, who didn't have to be conscious of race and how they said or did anything, right? Because they lived in a homogenous white town. So when you live in a homogenous town like that, you never have to worry about race. It's much like not being around any people who have disabilities. If you are around all able-bodied people all your life, mentally sound every day, you start saying things that don't make sense, right? So if you were suddenly put into a house with somebody who wasn't able-bodied, you would have a hard time understanding their point of view. You know, you'd be like, but I was just making a joke. I thought you would think it was funny if I said something about your legs. Like, you said something. You're like, yeah, I said something because it was funny to me that I wasn't going to go run and get that because I can't obviously run. But when you said it, I didn't feel that it had, one, we're not close enough for you to. And two, I don't feel like it had the humor behind it. It had an undercurrent of hatred and disapproval that I didn't like.
Yeah, and I think again, like coming back to all of this, just like how much of it is still an issue right now. Like right now.
Kate, you did not mean harm, and I know that you didn't.
So here's what I want to say. there are people in the chat that are not gender nonconforming. Kate meant no harm. I appreciate you saying what you said, Kate. I appreciate you, Momo Kitty. As Isabel, I think, said, or Thorn, I can't remember at the moment.
Thorn.
I do try to, well, I don't like with gender neutral terms.
Oh, okay.
I try to greet groups more gender neutrally when I can. Like I said, ladies, neither one of us have been like, don't call us a lady. That's not been something we vocalized here. But I also understand for the safety of our audience that seeing less of that is lovely when possible. Everyone's learning and growing. I wasn't offended. Audra shouldn't be offended.
No.
So just it's all learning. And I hope that anybody that was bothered by that word, by ladies, by what Isabel said, I keep saying the word, sorry, that like we mean no harm. And so I appreciate everybody that just listens and does their best. And thank you. But thank you, Kate, for saying that in the chat, and anybody else that said something. Like I said, there's no vendetta against the situation at all. We're all figuring shit out. So
yes. So it's fine if you want to address me as ladies when we're like here, like it's totally cool. It's not gonna freak me out. I'm fine. Like I'm totally cool.
I did want to say for the mods that are in the chat,
have a nice night, Kate.
Yes, have a nice night. The mods are gonna do work, and we're gonna in the moment be like, oh, I don't know if that's as important, or I don't know if it is important.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we just have to we figure it out as we go. Mm-hmm. So that's what's happening. But yes, good night, Kate.
Good night. Enjoy your dinner. I hope it's something good, and I hope that you're having wine. Or are you having Tito's? Anyways, let me know if you're having Tito's. Just Marco Polo me and let me know if you're having Tito's. I just want to know.
On that note, I'm gonna have some more whiskey and soda because
I'm like, I always want to know. Like, I'm like, what are you drinking? Because like I feel like I'm supposed to tell people what I'm drinking whenever I do mine, and I'm like, oh my bad.
Oh yeah, no, I forget a lot. Yes, basically that. So a little moment to breathe and just say like, but also again,
I'm not crying, I'm hot.
Speaking of the real world, it is interesting that, like I said, a lot of these issues are things that are still going on today. And I hope that just means like a toy. And I'm
hoping it's a toy, not a real mouse. I really am. I'm really
that's Allie's cat, by the way, for anybody that doesn't know.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that it's a toy mouse. If it's a real mouse, it is a real mouse, I guess. But like, okay, is it? I'm like, because listen, I have to keep Bo off of dead things, but.
Like if I wasn't expecting those words together, but okay, that's fair.
If he sees dead things outside, he's like, "Hey," I'm like, "Don't you grab that." I'm like, "You will not bring that in," because I don't want to have to like prying it out of his mouth. It's so difficult. No, anyways, hey Maddie,
boy. Great.
but yeah, so you had that country bumpkin. You have the angry black person or persons, and it's usually 1 to 2 angry black people. Yes. And then you're going to have the like, I'm like the woke Republican type person. That was Becky.
Yeah.
I just never liked Becky. I'm sorry. I just liked Becky from start to finish and was so glad when they like left. I was like, good, fuck her. But like,
I looked up like her name and I was like, oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
She can go. Yeah. And then usually there is at least one queer person.
Yes.
Queer, gay, homosexual, bisexual, somewhere on that spectrum.
Then you have your fuck boy. That was Eric.
I was gonna say that was Eric. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. You have your artsy person or whatever, and it was Andre.
Yeah.
He was the musician. He was like, "This is my shitty band," and we were like, "Yay!" So I was never into his band. I'm sorry. Like
I don't even remember that.
Very much reminded me of like why I don't listen to people's bands. So like when I was like, "This
very relatable." Very relatable.
Yeah, you're in New York. I was in LA. You know exactly what I'm talking about. When people are like, "You should check out my band," you're like, "Okay," and then you do it, and you're like, "I shall never do this again." It was horrible.
the upside of being in New York in the times that I have been is that they can give me the band name, and I Google and try to listen, and then I'm just like, no, okay, I'm gonna ignore this person forever, just forever.
I know when somebody invites you to a band thing and you're like, "Ooh, well, it looks like I can't ever be around you for the rest of my life." Now, every time some people have a gathering, you're like, who's all going to be there?" Because if it's that person with the band, I cannot go because I told them I died. So they invited me to their band's
You told
show,
them
and
that
I was
you're
like,
done. Literally,
I
I can just
died.
imagine texting and being like, so I'm not feeling well. I don't think I'm going to be alive after next week.
Yes,
Have a
Isabel.
great life.
I'm like, oh my god, I would
Bye.
totally love to go see your band, but like, I died.
Also,
And that is why I don't have a voicemail set up on my phone for all the people that I told I died. Okay.
whiskey and wine. Nice choices. Also, just know that I am a friend that if you, Audra, or any of the close friends in my life, like said, "Hey, I need you to text this number and let them know that I'm no longer alive." I would do that. I would do that from a fake number, so I never have to get a
I
response.
know. Because
But
like I feel like Thorn is super sneaky about like tech and like hiding. So like I
yes,
feel like Thorn would be a good person for Thorn, I'm gonna need you to text this person and let them know that I have passed away. And to like let them know. Just
I'm
I don't
afraid I
let them know
cannot
I
make
no
your gig
longer
because I
exist.
deceased at the current. I'm deceased at this cause. Also, Audra and Paul Giamatti collab, perfection. Just
You know what I need? Like, here's the thing. I always get sad because Paul is out in this bitch like making food. And I'm like the one that I have planned in my head, I'm just like, this is gonna be a mess.
allegedly, Thorne is good at hiding a live body.
Allegedly. So
This is why I have the friends that I have.
this is why I've never been broken up with. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean, if you ghost them, is it breaking up? No.
Well, you can't break up with me if you're tied up.
I thought you were gonna use your perfect line. You can't break up with me if you have no soul anymore.
That's true. But I don't like to eat the souls of my exes because like it gives me indigestion.
You don't have to eat them though. You can have like, I don't know, a space for them to be trapped in.
I mean, I could, but like holding on to souls is like a lot of work.
True, it seems like a lot of baggage, and
It's an
we all
intense
deal with
amount of
enough
energy,
baggage.
and you have to find the perfect object which can contain the souls.
This sounds like an offline conversation.
You have to have a good vessel.
But honestly, I didn't kind of realize how, like, the very first season of Real World had these like caricatures. Like I did, but I didn't. Like in terms of what you were talking about, how you have like the Republican, the artsy person,
Mhm.
the country bumpkin, yeah, and I'm from the South. When I say that, it's just the easiest way to say what we're saying. You get what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Um
true. Because you can literally go look from cast to cast
yeah.
and see like the second season was Los Angeles, and so um I'm trying to get a good picture because like they always have like somebody who's a villain. Beth was their villain. Beth, and she was like, they used to make fun of Beth for being old because Beth was like, she kind of was like one of the oldest cast members, and they would like make fun of her, especially on Real World Road Rules. They would dog her out for like being like ancient, and it was like it wasn't nice, but it was also funny. I don't care, it was funny because she was mean.
Okay, I am so I have Wikipedia open, and I have the Real World New York one open
Mhm.
after And so, you know, I was reading the episode thing from Real World Hawaii from the first season, and I just scroll down and I see episode 3 of the first season of Real World is titled Leather Chaps and Sequins. What is Eric getting himself into?
Yeah, and it was just photo shoots. Eric, so like most of
After
what they
he
showed of
does
Eric was him being like,
a steamy topless photo shoot with a beautiful British model named Taryn. He's
yeah,
encouraged to kiss and caress, I guess, during the photo shoot.
yeah, which
When they
upset
date.
Julie.
And then Eric doesn't share her taste in leather rocker clothing. It's
Mhm.
just like,
Yeah. Cause like he and Julie were kind of like hooking up a little bit, like not like later and like how it got later where people like immediately like got boozed up and like
immediately
let's
just like,
but they were like really close to each other. And then like he did that photo shoot or whatever, and she was like, the fuck. And then I think Beth tried to like set Julie up on a blind date, and Eric got mad about it, but they just never really like I didn't think that they were gonna be good people like together because he's
yeah,
weird and he just got weirder. Like I
yeah.
mean, his whole like, and here's I am the last person on the earth to make fun of anyone for homeopathic and like doing any of that, like the earth, all that. Go, get it. However, white people often colonize the religion and nature of indigenous and brown people and borrow it, such as things like hoodoo and voodoo. You shouldn't be doing if you are not black. But like
Also, like,
just
and then demolish like a plant like white sage for
yeah.
buying it up. And
The fact that there was a racist white man in jail saying that he was a shaman should tell us everything we need to know about that subject. Okay.
it's complicated. We're not here to get in too deep, but
Yes. But like
yeah, I don't
so-
trust people like Eric Nees. Let's just say
yeah, so
that.
it was just very weird. But if you go and you look at season 2, they have a literal country bumpkin in John. Now I don't know if y'all remember John. But John wore a fucking cowboy hat like everywhere. He had a bit of a mullet. He wore the most god awful colorful shirts ever known to man, and just was like just literally it seemed like he fell off a turnip truck, as they would say. Like it was such a weird deal. But like they got him. They got the one black person who, well, two black people because it was David and Tammy. Tammy who later parlayed her fame. There's literally a person on each and every season who's parlayed their fame. Tammy was on Basketball Wives. So married a basketball player, was on Basketball Wives after the whole controversy between her and David, which to this day, I never really know what side I'm on. Like there's times where I'm like definitely on Tammy's side, and then there's times where I'm like, I don't know, like where they were playing. I don't know when this went bad. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then they had that British guy. I think he was British. Was he British or was he Irish? Glenn?
Glenn.
Because he sure did get drunk. Like, oh gosh, that guy just really was like on that because they had to kick out David.
Yes.
Because Tammy was like not chilled with him.
He's Catholic according to Wikipedia, so
I'm like looking for
he's
like
from, but he's only from Philly.
No. Was he American? I feel like there was a guy who was like not American. Maybe I'm just making that up.
Let's see.
You know what? I just made that up. I feel like it's because he looked like he was from somewhere else, but he just weren't.
No, there was Dominic. Dominic was Irish.
Dominic, that's it. Dominic.
Yes. Dominic is a writer who writes television reviews for Variety and several music columns for other magazines.
Yeah. Because then they had that, like, I don't know, just like the random Ken doll in there. I don't remember what that guy did, but like he was there.
Like, just a random Ken doll,
I was like, what does he even do? Nothing. But Tammy and David got into it because they used to like have all this like sexual tension. It was really weird. And then they got into this argument, the infamous argument where like
yes.
she was in a sheet and she was naked under the sheet, I guess, and he dragged her around, and I guess they were joking up until the sheet dragging started, and then things went bad from there. So that was a situation in and of itself. And then I'm just going to hit San Francisco right quick to make sure that we're still hitting. Yep, there's a black person who does get angry. We get into San Francisco. Then you have like the shitster, which is why they brought Puck into play. You have that one person who like nobody remembers her at all. Like there's like I do remember Pam Ling. But mostly what I remember from that season was Pedro and Muhammad, I think is his name.
Muhammad Bilal.
Yeah.
Also in a band.
And of course, Puck.
Yes, who got evicted.
Yeah, she did marry Judd. Yeah.
Wait, what?
Like everybody's remembering who like everybody is. Like, yeah.
Wait, who married Judd? I don't know.
Pam.
Oh, okay.
So like you can kind of see they kept to a very particular stereotype, and honestly, they got like they would if there was one black person, then there was somebody who was like Asian or Latino, like they would literally not have like they would just wouldn't have a cast where it was like, hey, it's gonna be 5 black people.
No.
And like it was just like, okay, well, we have a black one and we have one who's from Cuba. Good. Diversity filled. And I feel like this show very much gave people the idea that this was diversity. This is like where these diversity posters came from. Like if you think about it, it's like, oh, well, there's like a black person, there's a gay, and then there's somebody who's from the country. A rocker alt person.
And there is and maybe it was more in the future seasons, but there was like at least 1, sometimes up to 3 amorphous white people that could pass as like, oh, you're not just white, but they really were. But like they could tan, basically.
And also they were like, it was very easy for you to just be like, I don't know the difference between, because some of the people on the cast, like, I just don't remember them.
Mm-hmm.
Like the amorphous white people. But it was just.
But I mean, that's what it felt like. Where I'm like, oh, they could get a tan in the sun, and they have brown hair. Okay.
Yeah. And like literally, because like season 3 didn't have somebody who parlayed it into like actual fame because Pedro passed, right? But if you go look at season 4, I'm gonna keep doing it because I can't let it go now. I'm sorry, everyone. Jacinda Barrett
from London.
Season 4 was in London. Jacinda Barrett's an actor.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I saw her show up in a movie, and I was like, "That's fucking Jacinda!" Like I was tripped out. Like there's always somebody who makes it, and I think that these are things that like we have to remember is the Real World show. First real reality that was able to continue forward, also catapulted people's careers, allowed people to do things in a way that hadn't been done before and still is done now. Every reality show now has people that end up with agents and all of the like you get on a reality show and as soon as you're off, if you were even remotely interesting, like there's agents calling you because they want to represent you and take advantage of your 12 minutes of fame. Everybody says 15, but 12. And so you end up like doing all these things. And some of those people are just like running around shilling tea. That's shit yourself tea. Is that what it's called?
Or diarrhea tea.
I'm like, that shit yourself tea.
Crap pants tea, whatever. Tea that is not tea. It's called diet medicine.
And like it just started like opening up that world where you could use that as a jump start for your actual career that you wanted. Because Jacinda was a model trying to be an actress when she got on that show.
Yeah.
And then she got on, and then it was like she's been in several movies. And like you just keep seeing her show up. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's really funny because I was looking at Miami, the Miami cast, which is
Mhm.
probably the first one that I really, really remember. Because I watched some of the other ones, but not as much. And
Okay.
that was like 96. But it's just interesting. I was seeing the description, so there's somebody named Sarah at the time, self-described 19-year-old trapped in a 25-year-old body. And I'm just like, I realize that there is an actual quite a big difference between 19 and 25, but being not 19 or 25 anymore, it just makes me laugh. Sarah enjoys skateboarding, collecting empty Blistex tubes and Swatch watches, and dressing up as television characters.
Yeah, that was also the first
Oh,
season where they gave them a job
yes.
because they like
Yes.
because of this way Sparks flew from the first season, I like for the behind the scenes things that I ended up finding out about like the
Yes.
confessionals. So we all thought that they would have these confessionals and be like talking about it. But no. So originally, when they first started doing those confessionals, they weren't even like they are like now in any show. It was just like they would just come and like talk about their experience. And it wasn't even like a special private room. They were just like filming people. Like they'd be like, hey, can I, have you, and then they would just sit and everybody else would like either move or get away, get out of the room, not make noise. Then it progressed to the confessional, which every reality show still has. And I'm going to guarantee you almost all of them use the same manipulation tactics where they create drama that may not even be there and tell people that so and so said something about them and say things like, so Emily, what do you think about Kwame not liking your gender choices? And you're like,
And then I would be like, Kwame's a fucking bitch. And all they
thank you.
would take is Kwame is a fucking bitch and not the question. Like,
Correct. So all you get is like Emily just sitting there being like, Kwame's a fucking bitch. And so you see that as like fighting and like, so then they would take that role of Emily saying that and show it to Kwame
yeah, exactly.
and
Exactly.
be like, what do you think about this? So like you never saw this behind the scenes shit that was going. So like this other person, like Emily's reacting to a question that
Yeah.
isn't even true. Then they take the footage of Emily, show it to Kwame, ask this person, Kwame's made up by the way, and show it to
Yeah.
this person, and then ask them how they feel. So then this person is like, if Emily wants a fight, they can fucking have a fight. I'm not one to get fucking taken care of. You're not gonna treat me like this. And then before you know it, like these two people are fighting, and there's literally no reason for them to be fighting. Like none. Not at all. Like
No. No. And it's really interesting because as it went on, and I think as I got older and was watching it more, like I started to understand that there was parts of this that couldn't completely be 100% real. And basically like saying like, yes, I figured that out. But early on, I didn't like catch it that way. Like I was just like,
mhm.
oh, they're just because here's where my brain went, where I was like, they're fucking bored. So yes, they're in the confessional just talking, just like talking and talking and talking. But it didn't click that like there's a camera in there. There's probably a human in there to make sure everything looks decent and is on and working. Um, and so now I'm like, oh yeah, they were just feeding them questions. They're just feeding them topics to talk about to keep them busy and
Yeah.
distracted and wanting to go in there because also the people that came into the house wanting fame of some sort, even if it's not TV fame, if it's like, I want to be a model, I want to be a graphic designer or an artist or this and that. If you have that desire for fame, you're going to want to get yourself in front of the camera as much as you can.
Yes. Because this is how
And
you learned to get screen time. Like these shows definitely showed us like how exactly this shit works. Like, oh, I don't know what's going on there. Kwame's a
sometimes
fucking bitch.
I know that's what I was laughing at. Sometimes YouTube is weird, and sometimes things gets like clicked by accident by the mod.
Yeah. A
I'm
lot
gonna
of times
say,
it's YouTube.
yeah,
Because
yes,
I've run
YouTube
into
will
that.
flag something, and then if somebody doesn't catch it, it just like goes away and you're just like, oh, my comment never got posted. And it's like, yeah, because nobody caught it to approve it. So
Not to mention,
sorry
everybody
for
doesn't
this.
know all the words that I have blocked, which is another
And it
thing.
doesn't mean something you said was bad. It just means something that was blocked might have been in there.
So before
But
we
yeah.
go, I do want to hit on this thing because Real World 7 was the one with the smack heard around the world.
Yes.
That girl, Irene,
Oh, yeah.
was kind of a nasty piece of work. She like I understood that she had Lyme disease. I don't know what that had to do with anything, but she had Lyme disease. And the only reason I say I don't know what it had to do with anything, because she would like say that she has Lyme disease and be like, I have Lyme disease. And I was like, I don't know why that makes you a bitch, though. I'm confused. So I'm like, I didn't know. Like I looked up things. I don't know what to happen. But so she went out of her way to antagonize, I think his name was David, no, Stephen Williams. Stephen.
Yeah.
She went out of her way to antagonize Stephen. Finally gets her kicked out of the house because she's just she really honestly wasn't nice. She was not a nice person. Now I'm not gonna say that he like it was okay that he slapped her.
Yeah.
It was not okay that he slapped her. You should not be putting your hands on other people, just as a general rule. I'm also not going to lie and say I wasn't kind of satisfied. I'm not. I was.
Also, this I feel like the seasons got longer and longer because I was
Yes.
looking and I was scrolling down and I was like, wow, it was 15 episodes in when Irene calls it quits that
Yeah.
that episode happened. Like
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
and
She just.
they
It
went
was
a
weird
whole
that she
20
came.
episodes. Yeah.
Like it was a really weird thing. I just did not understand why she came because she didn't like it, and
But
she
people
wasn't
do
enjoying
that.
her
People
there.
people do that. They feel so trapped in where they are, and you get called into the fame of possibility, and then you get there and you're like, oh, I fucked up.
Yeah, because that was like a season of forgettables, with the exception of that slap.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't really like the season itself. The only thing that made it interesting was the constant battles that Irene got in with everybody, and then she finally left.
Yeah.
And then Steven slapped her. Just it wasn't even a hard slap, to be honest. He barely like it was literally like he goes like barely grazed his hand across. I'm not condoning violence, please. I'm explaining the situation as it went down. I just remember thinking like that was a weak slap. Like why? You could have just saved that energy with spit. Like you could have just hawked one of them loogies. You know what I mean? Like,
But she was already in the car.
Loogies.
He went over and opened the door and slapped her.
I know he really did.
Yeah.
That
Also, this was the first season where people knew each other before.
Correct.
David and Nathan knew each other from I just read it and then I forgot. They were both cadets at Virginia Military Institute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was called Skeletons, wasn't it?
What?
It was like Real World Seattle, and I think the episode was like Skeletons or some shit. I can't remember.
Wait, from the when the slap happened?
Yeah.
No, it was called Irene Calls It Quits. And then the aftermath of the slap.
Why? Like, see, this is why you can't talk about reality television too long, because then you just start saying like just the aftermath of the slap.
The names for like this season were like feeling each other out. I love you, don't touch me. Let's see, roller coaster of love. Uh, time for a change. Love is in the dead air. The past isn't the past, or the past isn't past. The end of innocence. Facing the pain. Oh, this was this the first time one of the episodes was the real world road rules aqua games.
Yeah.
That's
Because the real
interesting
world
that it
road
was
rules was like,
happening, that it wasn't a separate season yet, because I remember it as like separate seasons, but that's true. It started as like they were slowly starting to like intermingle.
yeah, because if you notice, the strength of the cast in on the real world started to diminish as they started to ramp up more and more of the real world road rules challenge, which is hard to say that all together. So
Yes, I was gonna say it's
RWRR.
it's the brewery issue and the rural issue again. Slapshire. Well, I also think there was more competition for what show would get the kind of people, and realistically, the kind of stuff you were doing in Road Rules. I could see how that would draw in more of these like fame hungry, slightly off their rocker kind of people, because it's like you're out on the road, you're doing these adventures. It felt more physical.
Yeah, you were doing like physical challenges, and it was actually more interesting to watch than it
Yeah,
was
sometimes.
to because
And
like
yeah,
I felt like at some point, even with the illusion of a job, the real world got stale because again, it was just like the same group of people recycled. Like
yeah,
they were just new names, but they were the same group of people and they were recycled. And then they started doing they had the road rules, and you either liked road rules or you didn't like road rules. I didn't love road
mm.
rules, but I loved it when they started the challenge. When they
The
started doing
challenge
real
was
world
the
versus road,
shit.
that is, and you can see like where the
Yeah,
like both of those shows, because like eventually road rules just stopped and then like real world kind of kept going, but you started noticing the strength of the cast just kind of really went into the garbage. No
yeah,
offense to any of those people, I don't like, not like I'm ever going to meet them, and I don't care, and if I do I would tell you this to your face because I'm a tourist bitch, not weak. So anyways, I feel like these folks just were boring. Like you could definitely tell that they were trying to act like the
yes,
people before them. They were trying to
yeah,
have all of the like vim and vigor and like conflict, and like really after season 7 and that slap, like it was just really hard to get back into that. And I
yeah.
think because Steven, I do believe that was the issue, is that she was always yelling at Steven that he was gay, and Steven was saying he wasn't gay.
Yes,
Was that
because
not it?
I remember, because that's the thing, is like that's why when the slap happened, like neither one of us are condoning hitting another
Yes.
person at all, but there was just this feeling of like, yes,
Yes.
like farewell motherfucker is what it felt like. Like
Yes.
and so that was intense, but that's what it felt like. And even watching that over, like watching it back, all of that, like it just felt like, okay, like there was a lot there, and
Yeah.
it was frustrating. And so like when it all happened, it was like, I'm not surprised, good on you. Like
Yeah. Because I feel like
uh
that was what she was doing. She kept telling him that he was gay, and she kept saying like, you're a homosexual, Steven, and she kept doing it and she wouldn't stop, and he kept telling her to stop doing that. And then he slapped her. So
yes.
slappity slaps.
And I feel like
Slapped her
this
mouth.
is this is going to be something that we should probably just like take into another stream, because we've been going long. But
I know.
I would love to talk about like, well, this will be like a taster for a future conversation. Talk about like the use of alcohol and the emotional manipulation,
Yes.
because I feel like that's also what got it actually more boring as it went on. Um, but I feel like early on there was more, whether or not it was manufactured, there was more, felt like emotional conflict
Yes.
trying to be figured out. Whereas as it went on, I felt like it was just alcohol
Hmm.
creating conflict and heightened emotions and energy,
Yeah.
and everyone trying to like be the baddest bitch in the room, where the reality was, even if a lot of it was fake, there was, excuse me, a lot of realness. Like I felt that way, like I said, for quite a few seasons, I would say.
Allie, I can't stand you. Just watch it. He did bop her nose. Ani, to that I say, On that note,
I have nothing to add because I don't agree, but I'm not gonna just like interrupt your moment because you were having a moment. You and Ani and Alex.
listen. CT was why I watched those. I came back every season to see CT do those jumps where he stood there, be like, yeah, yeah. And he would like jump up really fucking high, and his legs would be, and the thighs would be like, and it would, I mean, he did things. He just,
This is why I'm not interrupting it because the noises
every
you're
time
making
CT
right
came on,
now are just
like every time he showed up, because you were always wondering like who's going to show up this season, because they didn't know, like they didn't show you, you know, like the preview didn't let you know who all was going to be there. And then
Allie
CT would,
crush me energy.
yes. Listen, considering the way things are going in Texas, I would like to circulate a petition
Games.
for CT to crush me so that I don't have to live in the apocalypse anymore. Thank you and good night.
Can I just say, I love how eloquently Sharon worded this. I'm in the forest here, so I'll trust that. For y'all that have no idea, CT was in the road rules.
Lauren, by the way, I do have your IG message. I'm going to get back to it. I'm so sorry. I've been off to things. But I'm saying
Heaving, breathless. Just yes.
that's
Yeah.
from Clue.
Yes.
Heaving.
Flames on the side of the phrase, heaving, breathless. Clue, perfection. But yeah, I CT does nothing for me, but I will let you all enjoy.
Let me enjoy it. All right. So on that note, for real, we're gonna roll up out of here. And no, better than Magic Mike. Better than Magic Mike. First of all, don't get me started on that thumb that's in that movie. Don't make me go.
On that note,
yes, we are going to leave. We'll be on Emily's channel on Thursday.
yeah.
I probably won't have a video up until Thursday, but I will have the content for the channel members and whatnot. I'm going to put that up on tomorrow, and there's some fun things I'm actually going to just start filming specifically for y'all, because they don't do, like, there's things that I want to do and I enjoy doing, but I don't feel like bringing it to my channel. So I'm going to do that, and I'm excited. All right. So make sure you're following us on the socials.
Yes.
Emily's information.
I don't know the topic for Thursday yet, but hopefully it'll be as fun or more fun than this one was. This was a delight. And we will be talking again about Real World.
We will, because
At
I'm probably going to
time.
listen, I'm probably going to start breaking down the fucking episodes, because like my goofy ass can't handle it. So, you know, I'll see y'all.
Do we know if they're all going to launch at one time or if they're going to roll out?
I bet they're not.
Okay. So I would even just be happy to do that on our streams. Just gonna say, might be a recurring thing for a little while. Buckle up, enjoy.
Yes.
Anyway,
fantastic, Ericus.
And if y'all don't want to get the pay for the thing, you can just show up and we'll tell you about what happened. Okay.
Crystals that are imbued with a spit. And on that note, have a wonderful night. Be safe.
A wonderful night.
And until next time, it costs $0 to be kind. It's so good for your soul, because if you don't take care of it, I'm sure it's hell coming for yours. Until next time, XOXO, got the girl.